trillions of years ago, the first being in the Minecraft universe was born. His name was Codeman, but he was imperfect for this universe, and so the universe just disregarded him and created a better, more appropriate god for this land. That second being, or god, was the overworld spirit. Now the overworld spirit, as the name suggests, would develop the overworld. However, before he would complete this creation, Codeman would rise onto the land, and the two gods would come face to face. And quickly, a battle would ensue, as each god fought for control, and ultimately, Codeman would lose the fight. But after his defeat, Codeman wasn't killed, but instead he was banished from the overworld and all other realms, cast into a desolate place billions of light years away from any semblance of life. In this desolate void, Codeman's mind simmered with relentless hatred and a burning desire for revenge. He became the embodiment of evil, a devil consumed by his own fury. Over countless eons he unleashed bursts of rage and corruption, their reach extending across unfathomable distances, distorting reality wherever they struck. You've likely seen these manifestations before, as they go by the name glitches. But these were just one of the signs of Codeman's presence, as the other manifestation of his evil was the creation of these corrupted books, cursed to ensnare any who dared to touch them, tainting their souls with Codeman's hate. The corruption from the books served as a conduit, allowing Codeman to gain fragmented insights into the unfolding events of the distant worlds, as somehow he could sense the victims' hate. He witnessed their anger through their eyes. Thus, these books allowed Codeman to collect valuable data on the worlds that he so desperately desired to be a part of, and this data would serve him greatly. However, sadly, a vast majority of these books would be intercepted and nullified by the spirits of the Minecraft universes, with only a rare few ever managing to evade detection. But that didn't matter too much, as Codeman sends out billions of these books every single second. So even if 99.9999999% of them never make it into the hands of any being, some still will, and those that do are vital for Codeman's data collections, even if the data is usually a bit unclear and a little fuzzy. His revenge, thanks to that data, was slowly drawing nearer, but soon something would happen that would greatly accelerate his plans. The fall of the first spirit, or god, of a Minecraft world. Once a great god, this being would become nothing more than a mere entity. An entity that, just like Codeman, would be filled with evil desires and a hatred for the other spirits. That being was Entity 303. Codeman detected the surge of hate-filled energy that birthed Entity 303, and while this connection and energy was strained, it was still strong enough to enable a virtual line of communication of sorts between the two beings, and so they could see one another. Although this wasn't a physical encounter, Codeman's ominous presence compelled Entity 303 to bow in acknowledgement of his superior might. Recognizing Codeman's formidable evil, Entity 303 pledged allegiance without a single word uttered. Aware of the potential that Codeman held to challenge even the overworld spirit, their visions aligned. They both hated the god of the overworld, and they wanted him to fall, for they both wished for a new era of the universe, an era where their demons could rule. With a sinister grin, Codeman developed a scheme to hasten his revenge. Enlisting Entity 303 as his demonic minion, he bestowed upon him a mere fraction of his formidable power, encapsulated within a giant red crystal. Remarkably, Codeman's crystal somehow transcended his virtual existence, materializing physically within the world just before Entity 303. But then, in a fleeting moment, Codeman vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only the ominous glow of the crystal. The connection had been broken, but the message was clear. They were in a team to reclaim control of the universe, and they were going to succeed. And so, understanding his master's silent command, Entity 303 set out to spreading the crystal among certain beings of the overworld. This sinister artifact would fortify the Codeman's connection to the overworld, and as a benefit, it would sow chaos across the land, as the crystal would corrupt the souls of any who encountered it, tainting their life force and sending more valuable data to the Codeman. Now, in exchange, those unfortunate victims did receive temporary surges in power, derived from the pure hate of those crystal fragments. The chaos that would then be sowed by these unfortunate demonic entities would force a great strain on the god, or overworld spirit, as he would have to deal with all these demons. But it wasn't just the beings of the overworld that Entity 303 tempted and tormented with those crystal fragments, as Entity 303 also distributed parts of those crystals to other worlds, tempting the very gods with more power. Now most ignore these crystal fragments, as they could sense this was a trap by some sort of demon, but a few foolish spirits would be lured in by the crystal's glow and by their greed for more power, and thus, as soon as they made contact with the crystal, their righteous souls were destroyed, and from the ashes rose new demonic entities that were just like him. Well, sort of, as some of those entities were more willing to follow the commands of the Code Man, but those that were more reluctant, shall we say, well, once they were shown even just a mere fragment of the virtual state of the devil, they too became minions to his desires, unable to resist the allure of evil. Entity 303 even allowed for a secret society to be formed around the crystals, demigods that would benefit from the crystals, deriving power from its evil core, but were in all secrecy, having their life forms harvested by the Code Man, and were nothing more to the Code Man than just consistent sources of data, preparing him for his return. That secret group went by the name the Obsidianites. After eons of observation and data collection, Code Man had amassed enough knowledge and power to enact his revenge. He was ready, and he knew precisely all that he needed to know, as he knew everything about the overworld, what it looked like, how it operated, who resided there, how to get the attention of the spirit, and most importantly, how to press that subscribe button. His plan was formulated. He knew what must be done to take down the spirit and control the world. And this time, he wasn't going to fail. And so, commanding his chief minion, Entity 303 was tasked with personally delivering one of those cursed books to a chicken in another realm, ensuring the corruption of its very essence. This tainted monster would then be forced to lay a unique egg, one concealing Code Man's very soul within. Meanwhile, Entity 303 then assumed control of a being named Exploit 44, using this guise to construct a summoning post and a landing site for the egg within the overworld. Every detail had to be flawlessly executed, as the success of this scheme relied entirely on its unexpected nature. The overworld spirit could not know what they were doing, or else their plan would fail. And so, as the plot reached its conclusion, the final entity, initially resistant, was compelled to join Code Man's ranks, completing the sinister assembly. All that remained now was a painting, the final piece in his elaborate plot. After a few hours, the Obsidianites, the cult that had formed around the crystal, were mysteriously drawn to that painting, sensing the presence of a crystal within it. Now cautiously they approached, and they touched the canvas, hoping that there could be a crystal hiding behind it. At first, nothing happened though, perplexing the Obsidianites. They had never encountered such an anomaly. They were expecting there to be a crystal here, not a painting. Suddenly the ground began to tremble, and before their eyes a giant mountain range emerged. Amidst the upheaval, an egg surfaced from the newly formed terrain. For a moment it hovered in the air, but then the egg hatched, and Code Man, accompanied by his minions, emerged onto the surface of the overworld. At last, he was back. Instinctually, both Code Man's minions and the Obsidianites bowed before him, acknowledging his return and his rightful rule over the universe. Code Man rallied his minions, and together they journeyed to the post constructed by Entity 303, for this was the site of a Herobrine summoning ritual. With precision and determination, they completed the ritual, calling forth the mystical Herobrine from the depths of the Minecraft universe. The moment Herobrine materialized, the battle begun. It erupted with a furious intensity. Herobrine found himself confronted by 4 spirits, Entity 303, Entity 404, Entity 505, and Entity 606, each formidable in their own right, but their combined strength posed an insurmountable challenge for Herobrine. The battle became impossible with the support of the Obsidianites and the diabolical Code Man. Herobrine stood little chance against such an overwhelming opposition. The odds were stacked against him, and his fate seemed sealed from the very onset. His powers just did not matter in the face of these gods. He was doomed. Realizing the direness of his situation, Herobrine called out to the god of the Minecraft world, his master, the Overworld Spirit, the most powerful being in all of existence. For a moment, nothing happened. The entities were drawing nearer, and Herobrine knew that he was going to die here. But just before Codeman could make contact with Herobrine, the Overworld Spirit landed. And thus, the second battle commenced. The Overworld Spirit faced head-to-head once again with Codeman. He was barely victorious last time, but now Codeman had an army of gods. This wasn't going to be easy, but the Overworld Spirit was determined. He had to win this. The universe depended on it. And so in a display of incredible power, the Overworld Spirit managed to temporarily subdue the entities and the Obsidianites. But they weren't killed by this. They were merely unconscious. However, Codeman proved to be a relentless force, seemingly unstoppable in his pursuit of revenge. No matter the obstacles, Codeman continued to rise, his strength growing with each passing moment. His rage was unrelenting, and as his minions began to awaken, the Overworld Spirit realized that, for the first time, he could actually be defeated. With the odds stacked against him, and facing the culmination of Codeman's eon-long desires for revenge, the Overworld Spirit braced himself for the ultimate showdown. This was the moment that Codeman had been yearning for, the chance to confront the god in command of the universe. This time he was going to win, and the devil will reign over these lands. A new era of darkness shall begin. Or so he hoped. The Overworld Spirit had one final trick. As the god of the overworld, he unleashed a colossal burst of pure good energy. His radiant force burned Codeman, overwhelming him with morality and goodness, something that this demon just couldn't handle. The pure goodness of this blast pushed Codeman far, far away, banished once again to a far corner of the universe. But this time, the distance was truly incomprehensible. Not merely billions, not trillions, but quadrillions of light years away. He vanished from view quicker than the speed of light. He was gone forever now. His minions, along with the Obsidianites, and in fact, any being that was close to Codeman, was also propelled far, far away, many tens of billions of light years away from the overworld, and in fact, any realm. They were so distant that their return was improbable. But even if they did somehow manage to return to the overworld, they would face defeat. One-on-one, the Overworld Spirit would easily prevail against them. It was just, together, they were too much. And also the fact that they were separated by vast expanses of space now, well, it meant that it would be very, very unlikely that they would ever reunite, and thus they would never be able to exert such power and strength upon him ever again. And thus the Minecraft universe was safe from these malevolent forces. What had been accomplished was more than enough, and peace prevailed. However, despite the monumental success of his efforts, the Overworld Spirit felt drained. Exhausted from battle, he retreated to the heavens of the world, where he succumbed to a deep slumber that would last for many millions of years. During his extended rest, the overworld would remain unchecked, free from the governance of any divine entity. But regardless of that, life flourished without external intervention. Unfortunately, for the most part, things remained stable. And it would be that during this time, that you, the player, might enter the world. With its boundless potential, you could take on the role of a quasi-god, shaping and terraforming the lands like no being has ever done before. Without the Overworld Spirit to stop you, there is nothing stopping you. You can do anything. The world is under your command now, and you can do as you please. But be warned, for as you exert your power over the realm, occasional sightings of shadowy holograms may occur, remnants of the demonic entities that were once banished from the surface. But not to worry, while they might appear menacing, they actually pose no true threat. These ghostly visions are just that, visions, mere echoes and faint remnants of the past, with weak, random connections that cannot hurt you. They are but illusions, and you as the player are safe, for the most part. Well, let's hope so anyways.